Well, today marks the end of the Trump-era immigration policy known as Title 42. And although the Biden administration won't be able to use COVID as a reason to expel migrants, they have a new policy aimed at cracking down on illegal border crossings and a stricter asylum program. Yesterday, members of the National Guard in Brownsville, Texas, spoke about the biggest challenges they face at the border right now.
I would say just the volume of the problem, as we've discussed, it's been growing, and you've seen some of the totals as opposed to what we've seen historically. And that's why we're taking proactive measures with barriers and with additional forces to explain that migrants should go to the port of entry and not do this dangerous crossing in these other ways.
Okay, let's bring in CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Sganga. She's to talk more about this. She is at the border in Brownsville, Texas. So, Nicole, Title 42 ends. The Biden administration has a series of new policies that will actually, in some ways, be more punitive than Title 42. Because with Title 42, if you were deported and came back, there was no penalty for that. Now the Biden administration is going to institute a penalty. So let's talk about the new policies. When do they go into effect? And what is the new policy designed to do on the ground?
Yeah, Anne-Marie, the policy goes into effect at 12 midnight. And this asylum rule is a drastic departure from what we experienced during the Biden campaign, which was promises to restore asylum here. Essentially, what this rule does is it disqualifies migrants from seeking asylum if they did not request refugee status in a safe third country during their journey from, be it Venezuela, Colombia, Latin America, into the United States, which essentially, at least on paper, disqualifies most, non-Mexican asylum seekers. Now, you mentioned that additional penalty. We have heard promises from the Biden administration to ramp up Title 8 removals. What comes with that is not only are migrants who do not qualify for asylum returned to their countries, there's also a 5-year ban that is placed on those individuals, so they're not allowed to enter into the United States for an additional 5 years. Now, when it comes to this new asylum rule, there are only a few exceptions, and according to DHS documents, they have to be exceptionally compelling. For example, an acute medical emergency. So a big challenge now, training all of these asylum officers to be able to consistently enforce this new regulation. Perhaps an even bigger challenge, messaging, trying to allow this policy to trickle down. Speaking with migrants here in Brownsville, it doesn't seem like many are aware of the deadline of Title 42, or if they are, there's confusion about what it might mean for them, what it might mean for their family back home that's coming to try to reunite with them. And so messaging is going to be an extraordinary challenge as well for this Department of Homeland Security and for this administration.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I know the government has some sort of a new app out so that migrants can kind of make appointments. And all I thought to myself was, I remember the debacle of unemployment and getting unemployment insurance at the beginning of the pandemic when everyone had to go online. I remember, when the Affordable Care Act started up, there were hiccups. I can't imagine that an app is going to be without hiccups at a time like this when so many people are trying to understand the system. What else? So you've been in Brownsville for days. What are you seeing and what are you hearing?
Yeah, Emery, it's just quickly, it's a great point on the CBP One app that DHS has been using to sort of streamline the process of applying for asylum. And as many, NGO leaders and volunteers have also pointed out to me, not everyone has access to the technology to be able to undergo that process. So concerns about it leaving the most vulnerable asylum seekers out. Now, in terms of what I'm seeing on the ground right now, we're seeing just a ramping up of processing here. A few minutes ago, had you looked behind me, you would have seen a couple of Humvees go by. You can still see over my right shoulder here, we counted about 8 or 9 buses. Those are buses that have been coming back and forth, used to transport migrants to nearby processing facilities, potential removal, ICE detention centers. Once migrants go through initial screening and then processing, they go down to the Welcome Center here in Brownsville, the bus station. They are given some food, some clothing, some very limited instructions. I was speaking to a group of migrants late last night who were sleeping on the streets nearby that Brownsville bus station. They were telling me they were told to leave within 2 hours. They don't have money in order to get on buses to get where they're going. So that a massive struggle right now. Also a lot of confusion about what their legal path way forward is. Some of them have notices to appear, so notices to appear before an immigration judge where they're going, in some time. Others were just given instructions to go to an ICE office nearby their destination. And so, again, some inconsistency here. You mentioned that confusion. We're hearing that from migrants themselves. We're hearing that from NGOs that are trying to assist these migrants. It is a whole of government approach. We heard Secretary Mayorkas talk about this yesterday. We've certainly seen that whole of government here, not only Texas National Guard, you were showing the Brigadier General earlier, but also the National Guard, Texas DPS, state troopers, local Brownsville police have been shuffling in and out of this location here.
Well, 15, 16 hours and counting. Nicole, thank you very much.